Hello, heathens. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm doing another vampire-themed video. So, as you know, November and bleeding into December, see what I did there, is kind of my vampire reading and TBR and months. And what I'm trying to do is I'm basically trying to read all of the physical vampire books on my TBR. And actually, I have made quite a dent. So I have probably posted before this one, you'll see the kind of video I did on urban fantasy and some of the kind of urban fantasy vampire / werewolf, those kind of harking back to the good old days of those books. I also have read quite a few, so what I'll be doing is either before or after this video, you'll see a bit of a wrap-up of the books that I've already read and my thoughts on them. But for this video, I thought I would do something that I've seen a few people do, and I think it's quite fun. It's looking at Goodreads and kind of looking at your Goodreads shelves and seeing the books on your shelves. What are their ratings? What are the lowest rated books? What are the highest rated books? Do you agree? Those kind of things. So what I did was I've sorted my to-be-read shelf. I'm looking over there because my laptop is sitting there. And I've kind of sorted it from lowest to highest to see which one of my current vampire books that are sitting on my physical TBR are actually the lowest rated. Funnily enough, the lowest rated book on my entire TBR is actually a vampire book. So what I'll do is I'll insert some clips of the Goodreads page, but the lowest rated book on my entire shelf is The Hunter's Gambit with an average rating of 2.88. And then the second lowest rated book is also the lowest, on the whole list that I have, these are both vampire books, is Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. How can that be? That's rated at 2.93. Let's see how many ratings The Hunter's Gambit actually has. Those are very low. Those are very, very low ratings. So The Hunter's Gambit, I don't know if you can see that there. So we've got The Hunter's Gambit, and it is by Seal Pillow. 2.88 with 1,349 ratings. Okay, so it's also very underrated if it's one that I enjoy, and very underread. Probably people are seeing that rating and not giving it a go. But what this one is about is, they say, from the award-winning author of Bluebird comes a riveting, spicy fantasy featuring malevolent vampires and a locked room escape adventure, perfect for fans of Gideon the Ninth. Now, I am a massive Gideon the Ninth fan, so to me, that sounds amazing. So we're definitely reading that because it's literally the lowest rated book on my list. And then the next one is Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro, and that's got a 2.93 rating there, with only 601, excuse me. Wow. An ancient Aztec vampire roams the modern world in search of vengeance and love in the seductively dark fantasy from the author of Haunting Alejandra. Wow. Okay. So those two are definitely getting read. Let's go back to my list and see what else. So then, that's not a vampire book. Oh dear. The Quick. I have The Quick, that's over here. So we might just stick that on there as a backup. All the Bodies, Kendara Blake. Interesting. Okay, that is somewhere back there. I'll grab that. And then what else do we have? That's a vampire book. Is Beautiful Villain a vampire book? Beautiful Villain by Rebecca Kenny is actually a kind of a retelling of The Great Gatsby, which is one of my all-time, I've got this gorgeous copy there, I don't know if you can see that, of The Great Gatsby is one of my all-time favorite books. So I'm going to double check if that is actually a vampire book or not. I didn't think it was, but you never know. City of Stardust, I don't think is. Castle of the Cursed, that's over there. Okay, and Law of the Wilds. Okay, so those are kind of my top 20 lowest rated books. I don't think Law of the Wilds is a vampire book either. I think that's Faye. I'll double check. I know Castle of the Cursed, I think Castle of the Cursed is. I'll check on City of Stardust. I'll check on Beautiful Villain. And then I'll pull the others that I know are vampire books. And we shall be right back. Okay, so here we go. We've got Hunter's Gambit at 288. We've got Immortal Pleasures 293. Then none of these are vampire books. The Quick, I believe, is. So that's the next one on the list with 3.26. Then we've got All the Bodies, which I think is vampire as well, but we'll see. 3.27. Beautiful Villain. Sounds like it may be. I'll read you the synopsis and we'll see. City of Stardust again, I'm not sure, but we'll include it. And then Castle of the Cursed. So those are the ones I'm going to include in this readathon. Okay, we're back with the stack. So these are the books I'm going to be reading in this vlog. So we kind of decided on Hunter's Gambit because that is the lowest rated book in my entire Goodreads, but actually that sounds really good, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Then we've got Immortal Pleasures, which we also decided on earlier, which is V. Castro. Again, this is hugely anticipated by me, so I'm really hoping this is good because I have really high hopes for that. So I tend to be disagreeable, so it'll probably be good. Then the next one, let me put that stack down. So the next one we've got here is The Quick. The Quick is by Lauren Owen, and it's got a 3.26 rating, and it is, how many people have rated this? Oh, let's go. Sorry, my Goodreads is not cooperating. The Quick, let's go. Amuse yourselves. Holding Music, 3.26 with 9,146 ratings. So an astonishing debut, a novel of epic scope and suspense that conjures up the magic and menace of Victorian London. Now, does that not sound amazing? London, 1892. James Norbury is a shy would-be poet from Oxford. And finds himself lodging with a charming aristocrat. Through this new friendship, he's been introduced to drawing rooms of high society and finds love in unexpected quarters. Then suddenly he vanishes without a trace. Unnerved, his sister Charlotte sets out for their crumbling country estate, determined to find him. In the sinister labyrinth city of characters, a female rope walker turned vigilante and street urchin, and a chilling Dr. Knife. I mean, that sounds incredible. The Angelus Club, whose members include the most ambitious and most dangerous men in England. I mean, that sounds fucking fantastic. I don't know why I thought this had vampires. Something said vampire. We'll see. But if not, this just sounds like it's right up my alley. So I am not mad about having to read that, let me tell you. The next one, let's go to the next one. So it was The Quick. And then the next one we've got is All These Bodies. Oh no, it's All These Bodies by Kendara Blake. Now, this one sounded fantastic. This sounds a bit like a thriller. This has got 3.27 ratings, and I'll tell you how many people have rated it. And the premise on the back here says that our lead character, she is basically locked up and suspected of a murder. She insists she's innocent, but they're trying to figure out what actually happened, and apparently what it says on the back is the bodies were found drained of blood, and the true answer may be more sinister than they can imagine. So that's what makes me think this is a vampire book. This is 9,479 ratings, so almost 10,000 ratings. It's not too bad. But yeah, I think it sounded good. And it, like I said, that premise definitely makes it sound like it's a vampire book, right? Drained of blood. I mean, come on. So after that, we have the two that I wasn't sure of. So I did a bit of reading. So Beautiful Villain. It's a very, very beautiful book, first of all, and this is by Rebecca Kenny. I've had this on my shelves for a while. I bought it because I came across it, like I said, Gatsby. It's a Gatsby retelling. Gatsby is one of my favorites of all time. This has got a 3.29 rating as well. I think that's actually the same as the other one. And the reason I'm thinking this could potentially be vampires is because it it's a world in like a college, I think. And she goes to somebody's exclusive house, they go missing, and then she goes to look for this person, and it's it says it's in the underworld, and she encounters all sorts of monsters. So, you know, monsters with dizzying powers and a deal for immortality. I mean, that sounds like vampires, right? Plus, I really, really just want to read this. And like I said, 3.29, 1,690 ratings only on this one. It does say Gilded Monsters 1, so I'm assuming there is more in the series, but I'll let you know if it's worth it. Then the next one is another one with an absolutely stunning cover and a premise that I really liked. when I first read it was this one. This is City of Stardust. This is actually the exclusive edition. So, I mean, look at that. Isn't that absolutely beautiful, by Georgia Summers? And this is Curses Are Made to Be Broken. 10 years ago, Violet, Everly's mother, left to break their family curse and never returned. Now Violet must find her mother or she'll be taken in her place. Her hunt leads her to a magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods and monsters bent on revenge, and to the handsome Alexandra who cannot be trusted and yet whom she is undeniably drawn. But time is running out and soon Violet finds herself seeking the edges of the world in the City of Stardust where the curse began. Now, Stardust by Neil Gaiman is one of my favourite books, so that's kind of what drew me to this initially, but that sounds fantastic. 3.33 ratings, 7,624 ratings. I feel like I might love that. I might be very contradictory on that. That's what I'm thinking. She hopes. Again, I don't know if there's going to be vampires, but certainly there's monsters, right? So, you know. Then the last one here is Castle of the Cursed. Trying to get to the page. Why is Goodreads so slow today? I bet you people are all voting. So this is Castle of the Cursed by Romina Garber. Again, an absolutely freaking stunning cover. And this was on my original vampire list to read in November. And this, I believe, is set in a Spanish castle. So it says, after a mysterious attack kills both of her parents, Estrella Brigala is forced to accept an invitation to live with her estranged aunt at the ancestral Spanish castle called La Sombra. No? La Sombra. La Sombra. See. Beneath its gothic facade, La Sombra harbours a trove of family secrets, and Estrella begins to suspect that the answer to her parents' deaths may be found in the twisting corridors of the castle. When Estrella crosses paths with a silver-eyed vampire called Sebastian, the pair soon realise that they are bounded by unknown forces as well as an intense attraction and must work together to discover the truth that lies at the heart of the castle. And to me, that just sounded like heaven. Just absolute freaking heaven when you're me. So again, 3.33 rating, 1,357 ratings on Goodreads. So I am actually reading underrated, low-rated, possibly all vampire fiction that I think sounds incredible. So I'll keep you all posted. Stay tuned. I will follow this up with sort of my reading vlog and my kind of ideas on it. So we'll see how this goes. Wish me luck. Okay, two things. One is I've started The Hunter's Gambit and I absolutely love it. This main character, she has kind of been captured by these vampires and taken to their castle, and she's got to play this kind of crazy ass game with them. But I love our main character. She's a blacksmith in this world. She's really tough. I love this whole concept of what they're doing and this kind of being captured by the vampires and this vampire society, and so far I am really loving this. So I'm going to continue reading this, but also I wanted to go PSA. I rechecked my Goodreads because I was fiddling around with it, and I saw this book on my shelf and I was like, hang on, is this book in Goodreads? And it wasn't. So when I put it in, this actually came up as one of the lowest rated books on my Goodreads. That's also a vampire book. And then this is The Last Raven by Helen Glynn Jones. And it's kind of giving me Serpent and the Wings of Night-ish vibes. But I thought it's one that I want to perhaps slip into this readathon. So an extra one. See what I think. Okay, so Hunter's Gambit. I finished this. This is a 4-star read for me. I completely disagree with the low rating on this. I don't even really understand it. This book has kind of everything. It's got vampires. It's got action scenes. It's got a load of, and maybe it's the characters. All of them are morally grey. All of them are kind of keeping secrets and lying, but I love that. Those are the kind of characters I love. Our main character, Kazan, she is so much fun. Like I said, she is like a blacksmith. She's tough. She's fighting for her life. So, you know, she's stuck in this vampire's citadel in this game where she's meant to be sacrificed, and she's kind of fighting for her life and trying to get out of this. The two vampires she kind of makes a connection with, they're fun. There's some shape-shifting going on. There's like these kind of ghost wraith characters. There's just everything. There's kind of vampire politics and intrigue and double-crossing. There is a spicy 3-way. Hello. Hello, is what I'm saying. I mean, I don't really know what more you want from this kind of a book. This is a action, romance, fantasy, vampire book. And I just think, as in that genre of all the other kinds of books I've read like this, it's fantastic. It is so much fun. And it ends in a place where there could be a second book, but it's not one of those ridiculous cliffhanger things. It's pretty much the story is wrapped up, which I really loved. So you can just read this and have enjoyed the story and have enjoyed the journey. But, you know, if there's a second one, I would definitely pick this up. I really enjoyed it. And then I'm also going to talk briefly about, because I started this. This is The Last Raven by Helen Glynn Jones. And I think I inserted this earlier where I'd forgotten to put this on my Goodreads. And actually, it was also really low rated. So it kind of, I think it was lower rated than some of the other ones I picked. But I think it only had like 200 ratings. It's fairly new. Again, I'm having a good time. What I would say about this one, so this one is about, what is her name? Oh God, I can't. I'm going to be honest. Amelia. It's the same as the Wicked Kingdom, I should know. So Amelia, she is the heir to the Raven throne. So the Raven are the ruling like vampire family. What I think is cool about this is it's actually kind of like contemporary, set in like a contemporary England. So they're like a castle. Because they kind of go out to a club and they go in a car and she's wearing a leather jacket and there's cell phones and the internet. But also you've kind of got this fairy tale aspect where this ruling family is like in a castle. So it's kind of, I guess, echoing English aristocracy and the English royal family. So the Raven, she's the last Raven of this family. She's the sole heir to the kingdom. Both her parents are vampires, and she's actually a blood-born vampire, but she was born human. So she has an affliction called humanity, which is extremely rare and, of course, quite looked down upon. And she feels really inadequate. And actually, she's trying to get out. She loves her parents, but she's just like, I'm useless. I cannot be the heir to the Raven throne as a human, right? And she's about to turn 18. And then the romance portion in here is with, she gets assigned a new guard, Kyle, to look after her because there's been a lot of like rumblings of an uprising, a human uprising. So this also, the premise here is that there was a war between humans and vampires, and humans kind of squashed the vampires, and now all of the ruling families across the world are vampires. And again, I'm really enjoying this. What I would say is this is classed as adult, and I think it even has 3 spicy chilies on the back here. And there are spice scenes in here, and you know, this is very much a romantasy. I feel like it reads a bit more like a YA. And I like YA books. I read YA books. I don't have a problem with that. But I think as an adult book with 3 spicy chili peppers, maybe also because our protagonist is just about to turn 18, she's quite naive, but then also I think she's meant to be quite naive because she's incredibly sheltered, as you can imagine, by her vampire family, by the fact that she's aristocracy, by the fact they kind of have to kind of keep her safe. And so she comes across as quite naive. But as we're going through the story, and you know, these kind of topics are coming up about humans, and Kyle, her guard, says to her at one point when they go out to this club, and she's like, oh yeah, but the humans are fine. They've got like blood dancers, which is quite cool, in this club. And she's like, yeah, but we look after them. And he's like, yeah, but how would you feel if you were food? You know, and I think because she's been so sheltered, she comes across as quite young and quite naive. So maybe that's, to me, why this is coming across more as YA. But again, I'm just having a really fun time reading this. And there is a great scene where it's Halloween, and that's their big kind of celebration. They're having a Halloween ball and they're decorating for this Halloween ball. I mean, I've loved that. It's very me. You know, I'm really enjoying it, and I think we're kind of getting into it a bit more in terms of those discussions around how you treat other people and how you treat those you consider inferior to yourself, in this case, humans. And we're kind of getting to this human uprising portion. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm page 160. So not that far into the book, but this is like a 360 odd page book. So, you know, a good third into the book. But yeah, I'm liking it. Anyway, I'll continue to read this. I'll let you know my thoughts, and I'll let you know my thoughts on the others as well. Okay, so I ended up reading actually both of these books. So All These Bodies and Castle of the Cursed. So let me start with All These Bodies, because I think that's where we left me last time when I was reading this. This is fantastic. It is such a kind of an intense, thrilling ride of this girl. Like I said, she's been accused of these murders. She's in jail, and she said she's only going to kind of give her confession to Michael, who is the sheriff's son. And she starts talking about this, and the whole way through, you're kind of going, is she telling the truth? Is she making this up? You know, is there a vampire? Isn't there a vampire? They're being called the vampire murders and the Dracula murders because the loss of blood, but you're kind of like, she maintains she's innocent. Like, what is her level of involvement? What is really going on here? And then you also have this almost like a Good Girl's Guide to Murder-esque type of thing with Michael, who wants to be a journalist, and he wants to obviously take down her story, but he also wants to figure out, you know, what's happened. He wants to try and kind of crack the truth really out of this girl, and like, what is Marie's story, what really happened here. And it's very good, it's intense. And I was reading the author's note in the back, and she said these were actually based on obviously with changes made, but they were based on real murders. So she says, though the characters of Marie and the killings known as the bloodless murders are inventions of fiction, they were inspired in part by actual events. In 1958, 19-year-old Claude Starkweather and his 14-year-old girlfriend embarked on a murder spree that left 11 people dead. So it kind of is sort of inspired by that. This is fantastic. This is like 4.5 stars, like 5 stars even, for a YA thriller. I thought this was fantastic. I had a great, I mean, it sounds terrible, so you had a great time reading a book about murders, but I did. And then I also actually picked up Castle of the Cursed as well, because I really, really wanted to read this. So this is by Romina Garber. And this story, I understand that this may not be for everyone. I don't think this is the kind of thing that's for everyone, but honestly, it was for me because I really enjoyed it. So this story is about our main character. It starts off where she's in a subway. They're in the subway train in New York, her and her parents, her mother and her father. And her and her father playing this game. He's a detective. And he's kind of, apparently all their life they had this game of how, you know, to read people and read situations. So they're kind of playing this game as they're going along on the subway. And she starts to see like a silver light and then black smoke. And then the next thing you know, the 25 people in this subway carriage are dead. And she's the only one that has survived. And she's very traumatized, as you can imagine. She's taken off to hospital. She's interviewed. The FBI get involved. The police get involved. They're trying to figure out what happened. Nobody knows. You know, her story about seeing weird black smoke, nobody's buying that. They're trying to figure it out. And eventually they say, oh, it was a gas leak. And for some reason, she didn't die. And she's just like, bullshit. That's not what happened. But she's pretty much she's on suicide watch. You know, she's really despondent. Again, the author's note in here talks about grief. This book is very much about grief, about wanting to end your own life, about loneliness. So it's very much this kind of genre blending book, really, because from that point they discover that that what her parents told her all her life, that she was from Argentina, is not true. The FBI are like, no, you're Spanish, you were born in Spain, and so are your parents. And they find an aunt who has this castle, La Sombra, I think is the call. Yeah, La Sombra is the castle in Spain, and she is the only living relative. And basically, our main character, she gets shipped off. Estrella, she gets shipped off to La Sombra in Spain to go live with her aunt. And when she gets there, this is a very weird Gothic castle, parts of it are in ruin. Her aunt is really strange. There's all these talkings about a family curse. So this book, like I say, it's very genre bending because it goes in so many directions. So you've kind of got that grief element, that almost grief horror element. You've got this family curse, this very kind of Gothic setting, which I loved. You then have this sort of vampire element that comes into it, and Sebastian the vampire that she meets, but it's done in a way that's almost sci-fi, like a sci-fi way. That's the best way I can describe it, like a Portal sci-fi way. And then you find out about the family history and what is really going on, and like the dark secrets of this town and her family. There's magic involved, there's bruja involved, there's a load of sections here that are like in Spanish. It's cool. I was like trying to learn some more Spanish in here. And the storytelling is almost like fever dreamy in a way. It cuts from one scene to another really quickly. Although I didn't have any trouble following it, I quite enjoy the disorientating feel of it. I think it sort of lends itself to the story. But again, I can understand that that might not be everybody's thing. I mean, I love like Mona Awad. I love Bunny. That's one of my favorite things. I like stories that disorientate me. I don't need to know what's going on all the time. I like the ride. And I feel like this is like that a little bit. It's kind of, like I said, all over the place in genre and feel, but I just had a wonderful, I flew through this. I had a wonderful time. There's also, I just said in All the Bodies, there's almost a Good Girl's Guide to Murder aspect. And there's that here too. So because her father was a detective, he had these rules. And throughout the book, you get these sort of sections where you'll get his rules, and essentially she's trying to work out. So there we go. This is rule number 9. You can't save everyone. And as she's trying to work out what actually happened to her parents and sort of work out what is going on, essentially, she's sort of writing things down, and she's doing it in an almost like a Good Girl's Guide to Murder detective sort of way as well. So there would actually be parallels between those two books. But again, I absolutely enjoyed this. I think this is a 4.5-star read, 4-star read, 4.5-star. I'm not sure yet. But I thought this was really cool. And I thought it was a really different take on vampires. So yeah, so those were all the lowest rated. So I would definitely say that these 4, The Hunter's Gambit, The Last Raven, All These Bodies, and Castle of the Cursed, I really loved. None of these got less than 4 stars for me. And unfortunately, Immortal Pleasures, while I loved elements of it, I ended up DNFing it. So I guess I kind of see the low rating on that one. But that was it. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you've had any thoughts, what your thoughts are. And I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye-bye.